Hello, welcome to Campaign Comrades, your favorite leftist gaming podcast. I am your host, Ben, and I've got all the comrades with me. How we doing, boys?
Yo,
Gang's all here.
doing pretty well. Editing some shorts, watching Ben actually successfully guess some Nintendo characters.
I am
Got
surprised
stumped by my trick.
Yeah, he did throw me for a loop there. He did employ some trickery that I don't quite approve of, but I was impressed with my own abilities there.
I was a proud papa watching Andrew make it through the prologue of Nier Automata
Yeah, got through the
and actually
Nier.
get to the game.
I was playing D&D while you were streaming that, so I had it up muted on my phone when I was watching, so I don't really know much beyond, saw you fight the big robot. But how are you enjoying it so far?
Oh, it's been good. I like the game. The combat system's really fun to experiment with. Like, it doesn't feel quite overpowered, but you feel just strong enough to really kind of do some damage. Yeah, for now, I guess.
Because Platinum did the
this was their last good-ish game. Because Astral Chain released right around it, and Astral Chain was also pretty well received, and then it kind of just ended after that. And then we got Babylon's Fall.
2B's hot, so that's fun.
Oh yeah.
Have you been banned from rotating your camera down yet?
No, not yet.
I'm pretty sure I forget if it's Replicant or Automata where you get trophies. You get trophies for it. I'm pretty sure it's Replicant, where if you do that when you play as Kaine, one, she kicks you in the face. She kicks the camera in the face. And then it says something like the
you get the horny dog trophy.
The trophy is something like, "What do you think you're doing?" or something like that.
Yeah.
But
Automata has something similar.
Horny jail.
Yeah, bonk. Go to prison. Go to gulag. Do not pass go. Yeah, we're deep in the content mines, folks. Basically, we're getting ready to give you all sorts of goodness here, whatever your preferred.
Well, yeah, release season is coming.
Yes.
Which I've been looking at stuff. I mean, I know obviously we're at the time of recording, Tears of the Kingdom is imminent. That's really the most significant thing coming up, at least on my radar. I know there's a bunch of other stuff that's coming up that in the next 2 months or so that people are really excited for, Street Fighter,
Final Fantasy 16,
Diablo. But then, yeah, for me, it's just Final Fantasy.
My sleeper game of the year pick. I can't wait to be disappointed.
we've got a couple games in August too that I'm looking at, like Baldur's Gate 3 and Armored Core. Yeah.
I'm just gonna turn into a mech for the last part of the year.
Those are the only 3 games. I mean, granted, we're still waiting.
I guess I shouldn't have said release
dates.
season. I should say teaser season, because we're getting to summer.
Summer
game fest.
It's festival season. It's showcase season.
But it's where we'll start getting more. It's where we'll start getting more dates, though. That's for sure. Because every
in the case of Microsoft,
yeah, taking bets now whether Starfield catches.
I went to all of my most Xbox favorite podcasts, favoring them the most,
and even they're not happy.
Listen to their opinions on the Phil Spencer discussion.
Yeah,
and I was pleasantly surprised to see how many had been it's been 3 years. You gotta have something better than this. You've owned them for 2 years, and you're saying you didn't have a chance to look at this and say wow, this game is bad.
I saw something really funny where they're pointing out you just search Phil Spencer in the year and he's doing some sort of apology tour. It's just, that's what the most of his press stuff is just apologizing.
We're sorry.
It's either apologizing or saying that he's still confident that the Activision deal will
next year's our year.
Yeah, that's
Truly the
that's it.
Dallas Cowboys of gaming.
But we're playing all sorts of cool games here. You know what game we're not playing and never will play is the source material
Yeah, if I
for
catch
today's
any of you,
episode.
if I see any of you
Never.
with League of Legends time on your play anywhere,
We're doing a
getting
wellness
black-bagged.
check. So we're doing a
Oh,
wellness check.
we're taking you to the
closest you'll
woods. We're
get,
black bagging you.
the closest you'll get for me is Pokemon Unite.
Like I don't think I'll
Still
ever
counts.
play. Yeah, I don't think I'll ever play a MOBA. I don't get it.
I
I
think
get to
of all
run
of
around
us,
as Charizard, so.
Mike would be the most likely.
Yeah, and
Well,
that's
I
why I
don't know,
said the
but-
closest I'll get is.
But
But
Yeah.
Mike is
goes
a
on
Mike
a
is a
night.
cozy gamer. Mike is a cozy gamer, like not a sweaty,
but
not a sweaty
Wait,
competitive
wait
gamer.
for the psychotic break where he becomes a Tyler 1 fan.
Never.
But folks, we watched the Netflix Arcane series for you today. I technically have watched it twice now. I watched it when it aired and when it dropped, and watched it again. I had to re-up my Netflix subscription for you folks out there. I'm putting
It's
my
definitely a
mind,
show
body,
that-
wallet, yeah. I'm putting
Definitely a
my-
show to watch twice.
I liked it.
There's a lot packed in there.
I liked it. In this having absolute disdain for what I do know about League of Legends and the community surrounding it, but which is very little.
Yeah,
do I
you probably
actually-
heard from people who are in like low tier bronze who are just bad at the game and like don't really know how to play.
So
They're not
let's-
watching pro scene.
Let's start our discussion off with we just put it out there. None of us have played League of Legends, but like I just continue to be baffled by like how was this something to be adapted? I almost put it along the lines of like the Forza movie is it Forza or
Gran
Need for
Turismo.
Speed? Gran Turismo.
Gran
I-
Turismo.
Yeah,
one of the
not
racing
Forza.
series.
Forza would be
You
great.
went completely the wrong direction.
Yeah. Well, see, again, it's not something that I really
You had
But-
Microsoft in
play
your
or
head.
care about, and it's just like again things that are baffling to me about how they actually could be adapted, because like the gameplay themselves have no story. There is no story involved with these things.
Oh, dare you?
Is like I thought there were like the heroes have powers in League of Legends. Like no one even has
They do.
powers. It's okay.
Some people have
It is.
magic, hence the arcane
Sure. Yes, they have magic, but
It's
or hex
Um,
tech.
yeah, hex tech.
Well, I
yeah,
think that their powers
everything in
and
League of
stuff
Legends is
based-
just like a cooldown ability. It's all
Right.
it's all a
okay.
fancy, very fancy version of rock, paper, scissors if you go like high level. Like you should have
Matt,
excited.
We're not
can
gonna
you
talk-
can you tell me what a jungler is?
Jungler?
That sounds dirty.
It does.
Yeah.
Apparently, it's a role.
I could find some of
in
those
League of
downtown for
Legends.
you.
Yeah.
Jungler.
no. The best I can give you is I know there's like mid lane and
Well, just like in MOBAs in general, you like in Unite, they have it where like you pick the lane that you go. So the type of character you choose is based on whether you're going to be attacking down the middle, defending up the top, or like attacking down the bottom of the map,
Apparently, a jungler is just someone who is in the jungle.
In the jungle.
which is probably the middle of the map, I assume.
no,
I don't
the
even
only thing you
understand how
really
this
need
game
to
works.
know. The only no. So there's no one knows how the game works. They all just get mad at
Yeah.
each other because they're all better than each other and they know it, but not everyone else knows it. And the game is wrong and they get paired with bad teammates, even though the matchmaking pairs them with people of equal value. And they can't possibly be as bad
Hey,
as their
we're all
teammates.
of equal value.
League of Legends is doing social credit.
Yeah, it's like a dynamic based matchmaking where you get paired with people of like similar they like do a hidden matchmaking based on like your tendencies as a player.
Is it turn based?
No.
It's
It's
real
a free
time.
for all. Yeah.
Like isometric type view.
Okay.
But all you see, about
it's
League of
objective
Legends
based.
and
You're
players
trying.
are
It's basically like a tower defense, more or
right,
less.
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But all you see
Like
about
there's
people
goals in
who
Unite.
all the
Yeah.
people who play it just seem to hate themselves and hate the game.
Yeah. And like the closest I've come to playing a MOBA was Overwatch, which was an FPS MOBA, and again the community hated themselves, so it's a similar breed.
We've talked about it, like for your average consumer, it makes sense why people play like the one game, right? They come home from work, they've put the time and the money in to that one game. Like, yeah, it makes them incredibly mad and incredibly angry, but like they don't have the time or resources to play something else, so they play what they
That
know.
anger is part of life.
Yeah.
I mean, the worst part about that is there are other MOBAs that are just as like free to play or shitty that you can like
Pokemon
throw your
Unite.
time down.
But it's all about the
like
microtransactions.
Yeah, they've already invested.
Yeah. They've already spent thousands of dollars on
They
their
can't let go of
upgrades.
that spend.
The sunk cost fallacy.
Exactly.
But in terms of the game's story, none of it comes across in the actual gameplay. It is when I was looking at it,
Yes.
it's very much like Magic the Gathering, actually, where it's all put out in like this is how you know shit is bad. That where the quote unquote story from your game comes out in blog posts.
It's just like paragraph spiels about
it's
more.
Yeah, it's not even like
lore dumps.
Like sometimes
like
it's short.
Q.
It's like it's short fiction. Well, yeah,
dumps.
it's very much like that, and it's just there's like a dedicated website here, but it's the majority
that's the
of
thing
like
that
the
Overwatch
scene.
did so much better than League and the like was that their lore was at least given out in like videos and comics, and they like built out on some of that. Yeah.
Not just a blog post.
Yeah, because I don't
they
even
would
think
release
they
a character and there
publish
would be
stuff.
like a 5-minute video like introducing the character like in their background that wasn't just a text on a blog that you're reading like, ooh boy,
something that people can engage with.
Granted, a website is free. That is nice, but not having to like buy comic books or actual
well, the videos are just
published books
YouTube
and shit,
videos
but, like,
and whatnot.
yeah.
And the comics are also web comics, so I think they were free.
Oh, okay. I take it back. But say
Blizzard before the Blizzard.
Take something like 40K, where the game itself is a crunchy, just rolling dice, and you create your own narrative there. That's one of the cool things about that gameplay. But Games Workshop has the whole fucking Black Library publishing arm. They sell books, and that's where like the story comes from.
The monies.
But like this
well,
is
that
just,
and potentially just from like spreading their license out over so many video games, they eventually make enough money through like sucking each of them dry. They get a little chunk from their game wing.
So it makes this choice to create an adaptation of it an interesting one, right? Because even for a majority of people who have a casual relationship with the game or no relationship whatsoever.
You're going into this very positive, and I'd like to let you know right now that I will not stand here for League of Legends propaganda being pushed on the children as a fun and exciting story.
No, that's why you can just watch the Netflix show. You don't have to actually,
Yeah, but it's definitely trying to.
It's an adult animation
of kids.
Oh, it is.
Like,
yeah, they drop a few F-bombs in there.
Which F-bomb? I missed that, I guess.
There's a couple.
I don't think they show
not
anyone
the F
actually
slur.
dying.
Yeah,
On
not the F slur.
Okay.
I think all of the deaths are cutaways.
No, they can't do that. They can't do that.
Yeah, not the F slur. It's not 2004.
No, but I think it's interesting that they did adapt
that we
this
can't do the F slur anymore.
Why can't we say that word?
Reclaim it.
No. I think it's, without having seen the show, I thought it was a pretty nefarious cash grab move because you just have this built-in audience and they can dish out slop.
And anything with Riot Games, you should be immediately suspect.
Yeah. So like felt very suspect about this being like an adaptation. Just felt very much like a money grab that would be terrible. I don't really know that I feel that way now, but
because
that seemed to be the motivating.
As
factor.
I understood it, it's like, yeah, they're probably, you can find like the shots here and there within it that like, oh yeah, that's clearly they're lingering on this image or whatever to be like an Easter egg for actual, league fans and players. But like this was very much an adaptation that was seeking to stand on its own right. From what the reading that I did is like, yeah, they're building on some established lore that does exist, but like in such a way that it does, at least for me, I felt like it wasn't alienating me as a non-viewer or as a non-player of the original material. I found it to be accessible.
And I think that's part of the reason for that is because like even the players of the game like don't have there's no story or lore to go off of unless they are seeking out the blog posts and like actually care about that, which most of the sweaty gamers are just worried about being the best. And
it is, I will say, it is.
You're not thinking about the subset of them that are mains of these characters who only play that character and eat, breathe, sleep that character. And
yeah. But I'm talking about like the larger audience that would potentially be alienated if they were to.
It really is like a narrow subsect of these communities who, with games like that, and I'm like thinking of my experience with Magic as well, that
know the lore
that engage with all aspects of it that deeply.
Because like I feel like you could be a casual league player and watch the show, and you can enjoy it for it being a show on its own rather than being tied to league because it's not directly based on that.
Then there are plenty of people who engage solely with those blog post lore and don't play the games and don't do anything like that. There are plenty of those people with Magic who read the short stories that are published online but don't actually play the game. Don't collect the cards. There's some who are just collectors of the cards and don't play the game or engage with the lore. Are just in it for the artwork. But then it's like with League, I leaked out those at like the real heights of the competitive scene care about the lore and engage with the lore in any fashion whatsoever. Like
I completely agreed.
It's like it is a true niche within these types of media properties that engage with all aspects equally. It's very, very rare. So it was like it's on one side it's interesting. It's like it gives you them, the creators, freedom to create a story that can, as far as I know though, this didn't necessarily challenge particular, like this didn't change anything drastically from established lore, but like it can free them to just tell a story, right? To not feel like they've got to check boxes.
They don't have to it doesn't have to be a Skywalker saga.
But at the same time, then it's like, for me, it's like, then why do these creators have to use this property? Why can't they just create something on its own? Why can't they just,
because of the cash grab aspect? Funding,
Riot Games is probably willing to foot an upfront portion of everything needed.
And it's probably easier to adapt your story than onto a recognizable brand and sell it that way than to just sell your novel story with novel characters.
But I would say that this didn't feel like it was something that was tacked on, right?
No, it felt like they did a good amount of like effort on both the visuals and the audio. It was all right.
Like so they
took their time.
That's a good transition into what were our general thoughts? What were the before we go into our favorite and least favorite episodes and stuff, which we're establishing as the format for these TV series episodes. What were like the overall what were your overall thoughts? What were like the thematic quality kind of highlights for you guys?
I personally struggle with a lot of anime animation. It just for some reason I just don't
Like
love
visual,
a lot of it.
visually, like
Yeah, visually,
or
it
like
just
aesthetically, or
aesthetic. Yeah, aesthetic
Or
wise.
emotionally,
No, yeah,
No, I
no,
was like
definitely.
or
wondering- I was like-
metaphysically.
no, I was like wondering if you were saying like, oh, like you find it difficult to like visually understand what's going on.
No, it's not usually. I mean, there's some where like action sequences become just blurs, but
We're getting too
no,
old,
it's just
man.
it's an aesthetic thing for me. I just have never loved the aesthetics of a lot of anime. But I really do like the animation for this one. I thought it was really visually cool. They use a lot of poppy different colors and lighting, and I thought that was one of the highlights.
Just stylized enough for me.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes.
Yeah.
They nailed the middle ground of the stylization. Like it's
They
usually
didn't
too far for
turn-
me.
They didn't turn the dial up to Studio Trigger levels. Studio Trigger did like a Cyberpunk Edge Runners.
Yeah, that was
They
the
have-
one that was in my mind as the one that I don't really love. That one is just not aesthetically.
And Studio
it's too
Trigger
much.
has a very distinct style to them, and it's but no, they dialed it just in. It's not anime though, I don't think technically.
No.
No, is it not?
If you want me to get
No.
sweaty nerd,
No.
real
Sorry,
quick.
apologies.
Excuse
Can-
me.
Cancel me.
Well, wait, but where I will look up to see where it was developed.
I don't
Go ahead.
believe
I'm
it was
pretty
Japan.
sure it's a Western studio,
Yeah.
or if it wasn't, it's probably Korean. Is my bet.
Probably correct, but
I don't know.
But I'll fill space while you're looking. I enjoyed the art style, just like you said, Andrew.
nope, it's French.
Oh boy, nope, never mind. Cancel it.
Cancel the whole episode. Cancel
End
the whole episode. We're
right
done.
there.
We're done.
Fortiche Production
Now I know
We're
why I
done.
liked
Bye
it.
bye.
is a
Good
French.
day.
Yeah. Andrew's the Francophile. And goddamn, yeah, they did Arcane.
Yeah. So, not anime.
Yeah. Far from it.
But like inspired by it. There was a lot of scenes that were pulling straight from some iconic anime moments from various shows. That showdown of between Jinx and I don't remember his name, but the
Echo.
guy with the white-
Yes, me too.
I
me
was
too.
going to pull that as one of my favorite moments as
Absolutely.
well. That episode.
So
the-
that is a that has been done in a couple different shows. I've seen it in one of my favorites is in Naruto with Kakashi and Obito. It means nothing to any of you, but the one
No.
fan out there who's listening will understand.
Bayo.
Yeah, the way that fight did it, they like every time they would like pass by a column with the camera, they would shift back to like the children doing the exact same fight, and then swapping back to the adults, showing like that was how they handled it. I liked this one with the more like cut scene in between. It wasn't like a fluid video. It was more of still images of the childhood fight.
And like what also made that element so good is one of my highlights is the music is actually really good and is used really well. And I think
Imagine Dragons
they,
actually.
challenge level impossible. They succeeded. They made an Imagine Dragons song that isn't absolute
Yeah.
drivel.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got
Well, they had like content to work with. They weren't just working solely out of their empty brains.
Did you guys catch the bit where the Imagine Dragons guys have
Yes.
a cameo in
Yes.
the show where they're
Yes.
playing the theme song as like a band
at the bar.
at the bar? Yeah, it was very funny. But like there's a lot of those real climactic moments that are backed up really well with some really excellent music selection and curation. I don't quite I don't remember the song itself, but like it's another kind of one of those cinematic moments at the end of one of the episodes where Jinx goes up to the tower and sets off the flare
Yeah.
that she's held on to since they were
Yep.
Yeah.
the siblings are separated, was another one
Since
of
she
those
was
moments.
powder.
Yeah. There's just a lot of those moments here or there that it's like a really interesting blend between art style, narrative, scoring, all of that where it just kind of comes together really, really, really well.
One,
Go ahead.
I was gonna say one other thing I saw about the action scenes were that some of them, not only just modeling or inspired by, classic anime scenes or direction style, but also like scenes from in the game itself, or just like shots of how different attacks or whatever cutscenes happen in the game. That was like one of the ways they were able to translate um some of the game Easter eggs or like game
Yeah,
footage
like when they
into
pop
those
up the bubble
shots.
shield, like that's definitely like tank ability.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was like those smaller details were like directly game inspired, and I think that kind of adds to the
The real question is, does
the
League of
effect of
Legends
the
let me play as a child soldier in a mech with 2 blade arms?
I mean, I don't know if we're jumping around, and Ben, redirect me if we are, but one of the things that, I struggled with the show in the beginning was that it's, kind of started off with children. And it just kind of was odd to me, or made it difficult for me to get into.
I didn't give a
Like-
shit about powder. It was my problem. I was with them like powder's a problem, like she shouldn't be out with you.
But see, why I gravitated towards the opening is that it's you could say it's tropey, right? But like
Yeah.
it's very much in line with like a lot of opening stuff to your kind of your fantasy series, like
Mhm.
your fantasy literature, your group of street urchins, scrounging to make just a buck, or scrounging to get their next meal, and then
Street rats.
something goes terribly wrong, sideways, time jump, like it's setting the stage. Like I gravitated towards
One
that
in
because
prison, one brainwashed, and now speaking with 17 demons simultaneously. The typical story.
but just like I like that kind of narrative. I thought the pacing was interesting. I liked that it was a way to slowly increase the stakes as you went along, and it goes pretty quickly in that, it culminates in that third episode. That so it's like this show is like 9 episodes broken down
In that third
into
episode,
three episode arcs. And so episode 3, like things like I was like completely taken aback that they kill off like 2 of like the found family member kids, like that that powder
I was here for it.
blows them to
I'm
shit.
always there
blows
for
them
losing
up.
people immediately.
No, it was like, oh, okay, this is the tone we're going for, kind of
Yeah,
thing.
the stakes are higher than you think.
We're immediately elevated.
Yeah,
Remember how I said it was like discount Final Fantasy VII? Felt that way, like a plate drop.
I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't see I don't make the comparisons that in that level. I think they're both good, and I don't necessarily see them as. I mean, they're talking about. I mean, the
The
story.
same type of deal with a lower city and an upper city, and
That's true, and so they are talking about like kind of class stratification.
similar classism of the slums and the
Speaking
like
of
normal.
speaking of the class stratification, one thing I am upset with, and it's not particular to this show, but just that class stratification in general, I feel the default in like the lower level street urchin class is to make them like a gang, which they had done here, that there's like gangs in the underworld. And I just wish that we could get something where it was like a positive mutual aid.
Well, that was
network.
what Echo's group was.
Right.
Yeah.
That is actually
That was
that's
the
right,
whole
as a
point of the
mutual aid commune type
Yeah.
thing. But see,
Yeah, but I
saw
wish,
them
like,
more
that
as
was
a
the
crew.
because like
main-
I saw
most
them
of
more
the
as,
rest of
crew,
the
not a
groups were
gang.
all just like neutral or chaotic in some form. Like no one was truly on like good. Was
But
how I
well, I
went
mean,
out of it feeling.
Yeah, I for sure the whole show is trying to set up that like that it is not black and white of who's good and evil. It depends on perspective and things like that. So
I don't
yeah,
know.
I guess
I feel like the show has a pretty clear identification with who is evil here.
Yeah.
Well, yes.
I mean,
But
yes, but
the show
like
starts like
humanized in
this
the
is a
way.
show about class warfare. That is what it is at its heart. The show starts off with a bloody rebellion against the fucking cops.
Yeah.
About like one of your main father figure killing cops.
Yeah,
it's
I guess my point is more that it definitely does a good job of showing that stratification through the structures, but in that like the certain structures may be bad, but I think it does a good job of humanizing some of the people within those that like in a way shows that they may have some like more gray morals rather than like a black
yeah,
and white.
because I mean the big thing is at the end they theoretically broker a peace deal that would create a sovereign nation run by a crime lord, more or less,
Yeah.
who rules through threats and violence and floods the streets with drug of some form.
Yeah, he's a drug lord, basically.
Spice.
Yeah.
It might as well be the spice.
Yeah.
But like, so like you have the show's villain in this crime lord Silco, but like it's actually showing that the real villains.
Yes, they're both bad.
But like the real villains are the upper class, are the council.
It's actually the gnomish man.
Are the cops. He is one of them. He is significantly one of them. He is one that is forced to come to terms with his complicity in all this, and he's the one
that's why he goes to the commune.
Yeah, is maybe most humanized towards the end. But like I have this note here in my mind, but it's like, so who's the real villain here? So Silco is the easy option. He's a product of the system, right? You wouldn't have Silcos if there was if the city of Piltover was truly what it claimed to be, the city of progress, equality, all that shit that they spout off.
You wouldn't have
completely
Silco if Vander
unironically.
wasn't such a bitch.
Yeah.
Is Silco Italian coded?
If he had finished the job. I mean, with that name, he's got to be. But so it's like, who's the real villain here? The thing, his name is Marcus, the cop who started off as like the lieutenant who then takes over. Is it Marcus, the cop who has this clear and utter hatred for the underclass? Is going to like basically it says like, I'm going to genocide the lot of you, like I'm going to take care of you all. Is it Heimerdinger, the professor guy who oversaw the creation of the academic and institutional elite through the formation of the council and the academy?
He was the founding father, I think they said. Yeah,
who's like basically who's lived for like 300 years and is always just like
wouldn't be me.
Things take time. Is it the counselors?
The argument that Jace made of like humans don't have 300 years to wait isn't like an interesting point of tension,
right?
With someone who could live for a century, centuries.
So like that, I'm still questioning. Is like, who are the villains? Is it the rest of the counselors who are clearly just corrupt? Just as corrupt as say someone like Silco. Like they are
a whole table of people looking like they were in Forspoken, by the way.
Yeah, is it them? No, the real villain of the show is Jace. Jace is actually the most evil character. He hungers for power, recognition, vengeance, is easily corrupted, and then he murders a child.
Yep.
But it's just like he is the one who he unironically believes these these lies that Piltover is the city of progress. He's the perfect liberal.
The day of progress, yes.
But it's like he believes in this naive meritocracy, yet is one to just say like, no, these things are only available to the upper class, like that the people from the undercity, they're all inherently dangerous. And he motherfucker institutes stop and frisk. He is like
Right,
Closes
Michael
down all
Bloomberg.
trade.
closes down all trade. He increases tensions at every
Economic sanctions.
say is easily corrupted and manipulated by the other counselors. And
He was probably my least favorite character, just built on the fact that like episode to episode, his like theoretical morals would just change on a constant basis.
that's what I'm saying. And I think that's intentional.
Like he was just adapting to whatever like was needed at the moment.
And I really think that's intentional on the part of the writers. That is like that he is just a cipher for power. And is willing to espouse whatever morals will get him what he thinks he deserves.
And speaking of like inspirations that they had drawn, we had mentioned
I'll never make
and,
a
like
weapon.
the direction.
Makes a warhammer.
That's also a gun.
Yeah, that's a shotgun.
Yeah. It's a mining tool, right? That was the excuse.
All of them, yeah. We're to help the children in the mines because they yearn for the mines.
But this definitely draws inspiration from like the like lineage of mostly movies in Hollywood during like the 70s and 80s, Star Wars actually being one of them, of just like this idea of technophobia and bureaucracy taking over and being touted as like progressive and going to save us all, but only continues to
Man went real quick
distance
from
that.
not doing this to help the undercity. I'll never make weapons to I'll do that real quick.
Yeah, exactly.
I think we actually need to make weapons because they're dangerous. They're
It wasn't even like half of an episode worth of time before he was.
And the point of the point of the movie, those movies in the 70s, and I think one of the points driven home here is, and there's obvious critiques of it, that it gives agency to the technology, that technology could kind of like corrupt, but that technology at least creates this potential where human intervention could go wrong, and what the original goal of creating peace and harmony or whatever could
like even Victor got,
ultimately lead
corrupted by it.
Yeah,
in the sense that his initial goals were trumped by his immediate need
villain from the game, from my understanding.
Probably makes sense, given that he's like got a magical leg now.
And just vaporized his
I got a magical leg.
potential love interest.
I'd be vaporizing my potential love interest with my magical leg too.
So the one bit that where I absolutely have to critique the show is in its politics is the how it's definitely bad how basically they equate illness and disability with evil, with say Jinx being severely schizophrenic,
yes,
and in with Victor's disability as being self-interested and again corruptible in that way. Whereas I see it more as he gets more radicalized, and his
timeline accelerates, and his goals change to help himself to fix the accelerated timeline, and it's a trope in many ways when they show this type of thing. But he made ethical choices that aren't what you would make if you were doing this for a long term, and vaporized his lab assistant because of it. Like usually they was it Doc Ock and Spider-Man 2 killed his wife trying to harness the power of the sun.
A goated movie.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's clear that Jace is really the most or is the least morally ambiguous. He is basically
morally weak.
Yeah. He is again, he's the perfect liberal, right? That's what I
He's
kept
the
coming back to
Palpatine in
my
the
notes.
original or in the sequel prequel trilogy.
Yeah, it's just that he's like, he just believes in this naive meritocracy and that like the righteousness of your.
I don't remember the
Your
name of the
beliefs will win the
councilwoman
day.
who was trying to like abuse his desire for power and like manipulate him, but she even
I have
changed
her.
pace towards
Yeah,
the
I
end.
have her as the girl boss counselor who clearly manipulates and exploits him.
Yeah.
Kickboxing girl boss.
But yeah, like their relationship does seem to affect both of them, and that way she, in turn becomes kind of starts to then follow his line. But yeah, it's just like I kept coming back to again. It's like, yeah, it's the Jace is just like, yeah, we're doing this for the Undercity. We need to call out all out. We need to call for all out war against the Undercity to protect them from themselves. It's just this
Sounds like
They
paternalism.
created a
Gas.
grenade that I can't open, so that makes them dangerous.
We must firebomb all their schools. It's really bad, and it's like, yeah, all he does, all his creations do is just facilitate global trade. That's literally
Yes.
all his. That's what his progress
But-
means.
but
It's just putting
Isn't
more
that
wealth
what
into the
government's
hands.
for? Isn't that what government's for? To give the rich people more money and protect them and let them freely trade. I thought we all agreed that was, what governments
Perfect
do.
economic efficiency is what we're actually working towards. That
Yeah.
is the goal.
But I love how anti-cop this show is.
Very
It-
anti-cop.
Except
is-
for Lady Cop.
She gets a little bit more complicated, but she's also she gets a little bit more. They look a little bit more at her in flashbacks and stuff, but she's not a huge presence. She's pretty corrupt herself. She's not.
Oh, I know. But they
she's-
tried their best to make her different.
That's how she's like the only one that there's basically she's the
Yeah.
she's the outlier. She's the exception to the rule where
Serpico.
all
Yeah,
the
I was about to say.
all the cops are literally, they're
Picture
stormtroopers.
Charlie Day.
Is what they are. They're stormtroopers. But like the best bit of symbolism there is like how showing how the the enforcers, these cops, purely exist to protect the interests of capital and the elite is that they literally can't breathe the air of the Undercity.
Yes.
That they are so that their bodies are so reliant upon the
kinda like
prosperity of the
how-
elite that they need these masks in order to police the Undercity. It's
It's kind of like how modern day cops can't touch any fentanyl or they'll die.
but they can't even look at it. They can't even look at it.
Can't even be in a 20-foot radius of it. They'll at least pass
Might
out.
have to self-administer Narcan.
But they just do like absolutely obscene violence to the poor. Like in the second
That
episode,
sounds like
yeah,
our
when
cops.
she goes to the prison to meet Vi, and
oh yeah, the corrections officer is just like lost
Yeah.
count of the number of times we've given her a beating.
Yeah.
Just cause this, and she was being held without trial, without crime, no crime on the record
to make her disappear.
Yeah, they literally just disappeared her into this hole in the ground. Like, so in that second episode where the enforcers are invading the lanes and are again doing all this crazy violence to the poor, trying to root out the kids who caused a ruckus up in the Overcity.
Nuked a building.
They chase them down, and as they're getting away, that main cop Marcus, he pulls a gun on a literal child. He points his gun at Powder.
Sounds like American cops.
Yeah, it's just like, and this was after they tossed a guy
Very
through a
accurate.
fucking plate glass window for not showing.
Hey,
the proper
Marcus, just
respect.
think about this. You could have
Nice.
ended this whole thing if you just shot that little girl.
Yeah, it's a real go back in time to kill Hitler, to kill baby Hitler.
Flap of a
moment.
butterfly wing.
But it is clear, I think, in its politics there, it is equally,
I mean, they're
critical
literally
of the
dressed like Space
reactionary.
Marines, like the traditional fascist garb.
Yeah, absolutely.
Looks super fun.
I'm curious of what of like their ideas. Well, one, it's interesting that it's from a French studio. Um, it's politics. Definitely makes a little bit more sense that they're able to take these liberties that I think a straight
So
American
you ask
studio would not.
a French worker to give up 1 day of vacation,
Yeah.
and they set the street on fire.
Exactly.
They set the office building on fire.
Yeah, definitely a different culture around,
Absolutely based.
and so um I do wonder though, like what Netflix had them cut out, or like what changes were made to the story to, even from a French studio that would like, conservatize it a bit, liberalize it some more.
All right, so those were our overall thoughts of the show and its message. Let's get down into what were your favorite and least favorite episodes. Okay, rather than getting into a full breakdown of each episode, and then we'll think about where we think the show is, how it ended, and where we think it's going.
I'll jump in and start off. I definitely thought my least favorite episode was the first. Like I said, I had trouble getting into it a bit, largely because it opens with the younger children. And you pointed out, Ben, that it is kind of like, in a sense, a cliche opening. And I think
Trope, I would say.
or
Trope is
yeah,
different than a
trope.
cliche.
You're right. You did say trope. And you're right. It's more of a trope than a cliche.
There is a distinction.
Yeah, but I definitely think that tropiness of it kind of like turned me off at first. Um, and the build up to the action in the third episode. To me, it just kind of took too long to get there, and I guess I had more expectation for it kind of popping off at first, and definitely not starting off with children. I don't know why that like turned me off so much. Like I was, I guess, expecting more of an adult centered show to start off.
Do you have a top episode?
Oh, I thought we were doing one at a time.
We can do it that way. I forget how we did
I
it the
don't-
first time.
Let's do it that one. Get all
The first was also my least favorite. I'll just go right after that. I thought it was just a weak pilot episode. Overall, I thought pacing wise, you could do a little more to draw you in on the first episode. You can still, I think thematically, you could still get all the information in a 3 episode span, but I think you could rearrange how that information is given in a way. Potentially utilize more inference of understanding, like have the kids come back and then have someone in the bar be like a lot of damn trouble for like kids that aren't even his or something like that, like throwaway lines before you give the whole background info away, because it just was a lot of like background exposition in one episode.
You sneeze over there?
No, I smacked my cup reaching for my phone.
I'm torn, but I'm gonna continue the trend actually, and just say I did feel like the first episode was the weakest. It was just a little bit on the weak side in terms of engaging me immediately. I liked the art style that kept me invested, but just didn't set up enough of a larger plot or world in a way that I felt was as engaging as the others. I mean, this is with the caveat that I don't really think it's a bad episode. It's just if I'm forced to pick, I'm going to go with the first one.
My probably least favorite episode might be the penultimate one, the 8th episode, Oil and Water. and it was largely just like for a penultimate episode, it didn't really aside from like the very bit at the end with the raid on the shimmer factory and um like the kind of cut to black as Caitlin, Vi's girlfriend, basically, gets abducted by Jinx. I don't know, just I felt like not a lot happened in that one.
What
And
do you mean? His girlfriend's mother exposed herself to him.
yeah, so
had a
they shifted the focus, to so the Mel is the girl boss counselor. Yeah, they
Yeah.
shifted it to her story with her mother and introduced her, and that was part of the story that I felt the most out of left field and that required extra knowledge. It's
Well,
like
and it's
what the
also
fuck is what the
because
fuck is the
it,
city
it
of
did feel like
Noxus?
it's
Like I don't know what
filled
that
out
is.
to make 9 episodes.
It's like I don't know what this is referring to. I don't like we never have seen anything else with her brother. We don't know who he
Well,
is or why we should
Who
care.
this country is.
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
also it's it's a girl boss, so we here at Campaign Comrades we don't support that.
Shut it down.
So,
Yeah, no.
Yeah, get that storyline out of here.
No. And so like yeah, it's just like it didn't focus enough on the main conflict. I'm pretty sure this is the episode where Jinx is largely unaccounted for because it's after she's
Yeah,
being,
she's doing things in the background,
well, it's because she's recovering from
dying.
the surgery thing that after Echo basically fucked her up, which was again from the episode previous was probably my highlight. We'll snake pattern go back.
Yeah,
I really liked episode 3. That was like we talked about earlier. That one was a really
Yes.
good thing, and I'm not as critical of the first episode. I thought that first episode arc was very well paced and set the groundwork for and laid the foundations for all these different storylines and characters. If maybe anything, you could have gotten more about Silco in the first one, but you never want to tip your hat too early with your quote unquote villain.
Can I just jump in? Sorry, I forgot something I wanted to or remembered something I had forgotten when Andrew was talking. So he brought up how the storyline of that first episode wasn't so engaging, and I think because of that, like that it followed the trope and was just very formulaic. Even though the pacing of it all was good, it just wasn't enough to like tie me in, from the jump, the way that I kind of hoped it would, because it was just almost predictable.
Yeah, I was in from the jump because of that, like because there's the first time jump that happens in that first episode, right? That first bit we get is
Yeah.
during like the
Very
rebellion
old.
from however many years prior, and seeing who we know are going to be our main characters basically so opposed, like directly, it laid out the conflict so poignantly and so directly that I was on board to start. That like
Fair.
and being an avid consumer of that type of say fantasy trope type narrative, I find it anything more comforting and than rote or unoriginal. But I liked the heist.
See,
I
my
thought it
dark
was good.
ass when the man who was beating up the police officer
Vander,
stood up and walked over. I was like, he's gonna kill those kids, isn't he?
But I really liked episode 7. That was probably one of my top ones. Like seeing the real conflict erupt between Vi and Powder was really cool. Forcing Vi to effectively choose a side was impactful, and that final sequence that we talked about at the top of the episode was just like was an absolute visual standout, which I really enjoyed.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Ben, on episode 7. I think for me it's 7 and then 3 probably after that are my top 2. Just for all of the reasons you stated, particularly with 7, just the fight between Echo and Jinx was probably the highlight of the series from just like a visual perspective for me. And
I did
I
like the
thought,
first fight between Vi and Silco's lieutenant, which
Other girl boss.
her name Savika.
yes,
Savika, that's her name. That
yes,
first fight of theirs is really really cool, but that's probably my second favorite visual moment was that one, but the Echo fight was much cooler.
My
Yeah, I
highlight
agree.
of the series is the Echo fight. I think that was just a really well done little moment. But I'm actually in episode 6 is my favorite. I think episode 6 weaves a lot of the threads that follow through to the end. That's when like he starts the vote to get Heimendinger off the council.
Mhm.
And I think that's like for me, that's a big turning point for Jace, where his already like weak morals like really fold so that he can push forward with his tech in a blatant manipulation manner, where it's like clearly at this point they're trying to get him to make weapons and he's trying to clear those obstacles to allow him to do that.
Matt and I had a very similar experience with this series because episode 6 was my favorite as well. I think that tension of Jace's morals, kind of gets heightened there, and his weak points are really coming to light. And I think
We
that
also get the reunion, the first reunion of Jinx / Powder
Yeah.
and Vi. You get that like
No, it
that
was
first
another
coming together moment.
There's another standout moment that we talked about at the top. Again, that's with where she lights off the flare, and like it's that moment of vulnerability and in despair that Jinx exhibits before Vi shows up. As she's like,
I still
standing there and
that's
like
Powder. That's not Jinx.
Right. So that's the last real moment that Powder exists, is that
Because once I don't remember the name of the gang, but once Echo's group shows up,
the mutual aid
the switch flips back.
the Firelights, that's what they're called.
Yeah, Firelights.
Yeah, I want to
Why
say
are they always
Fireflies,
fire?
but that's Last of Us.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it's always a fire something. They got to ignite, spark the light of the rebellion.
Yeah,
But I also thought that like the tech and the magic, Jace diving into that in that episode was very interesting to me. I think that one of my favorite parts of the series is
I did
like
find
that.
hex tech to be one of the least developed aspects of the show.
Yes,
they're like, oh,
Agreed.
it's gonna revolutionize
to
all
magic.
this stuff. Yeah, it's
And
going
I was
to
gonna say that's my favorite
high-speed
part of
travel.
the show.
it's gonna save lives. It's gonna do this, but how? You can't even give me the techno babble or whatever to it.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah,
just,
and
I was actually really
underbaked.
disappointed
A bit
with
underbaked.
Hex Tech and then the development with Victor. I was expecting more out of Victor than
Well,
to
I
just.
I think we're gonna get more.
I was expecting more of
well, like I think
a
his
discussion of that magic
ball.
science kind of like pipeline, or just like the theoretical,
Or
philosophical.
more than just we need to spin it fast so it stabilizes.
Yeah,
just the twisting of the
hey,
things.
that is
it was a fucking magic
realistic
Rubik's cube. It was a magic
Yeah.
Rubik's cube, is what that fucking thing was. I found it incredibly underbaked.
but I think that that if they honed in on that some more through the storyline, and maybe even in that pilot episode, if they were able to better weave that through the whole series, that that philosophical idea, and that tech is potentially creating this stratified like class divide, I think would have made the series even better than it was, and just be more interesting to me, and less of just following the tropes. It would have something a little bit more novel to pick up on and dig into.
I think the show goes on a pretty good heater from like episode 3 through 7. That's definitely, that middle is definitely the best part of the show for me.
And when we had that conversation in our group chat saying, Matt and I were both saying how it was tough for us to get into and like it was slow. And I realized I was on the 4th episode at that point. So, it definitely speaks to that middle part picking up and getting more engaging for at least me.
I
as
was
the viewer.
legitimately only on the first episode at that point.
Yeah.
Pretty much episode 2 on picked up for me, but it was episodes 3 through 7 where I was like, okay, yeah, I'm getting the like they've got me here. I'm willing to watch this. This is fun.
What do we think about the ending though? What do we think about where it left off? I mean, obviously it's a bit of a
Death to the
cliffhanger.
Imperium.
Yeah. If say it looks like Girl Boss is about to eat shit.
As she
Yeah.
should.
Do we think any of the council survives?
Jace was in that room, right? Or
Yes.
no, he wasn't.
No, he was the only one not there.
He's not a
Oh, he's
councilman
not?
anymore because he dropped off the council.
I am
or no, maybe no.
I thought
He
he's
and, he
there.
and Victor are there. They are there, I think. Yeah, because they're debating his proposal for peace.
Yeah, they're debating the peace. Yeah,
And
he's
they
proposing
yeah.
the peace deal.
And they finally
he's proposing peace and stepping
accept it.
down. And
Yeah.
I think Jace will be alive. I would be very surprised if Jace was not alive.
I mean, that's a
Jay-
magical nuke.
I'm gonna say Jason
Yeah.
Victor are pretty much guaranteed to be alive because they are playable
Characters
characters
in the game.
Okay.
It's everybody
And
else.
Jace is
that-
definitely there.
Catherine Vi's girlfriend, or Caitlin, not Catherine. Sorry,
Lady
Caitlin Vi's
Cop.
girlfriend. Her mom is definitely dead. There's no way she
Yes.
survives.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's absolute because that's just that's drama for her. That's
Yeah. They're setting up
Tension.
storylines for next season.
But I think there's a strong chance that
It's really not
that-
Jinx who's the main character if you think about it.
who I mean I wouldn't have said so. She's
Yeah.
she's more of a threat in the shadows. It was
But she's
was-
marketed more as the face of the show.
right.
Yeah, that's fair.
No, it was really Vi and I mean, yeah, it's Vi, Jason, and
Oh
was
man, the city
Silco,
is
but
the main character.
is the real character. The two
people.
pilled over in the
A
nation
tale of two
Zon.
cities, one might say.
Yeah.
All right, Charles. Do you have great expectations for it?
I think that Mel, the girl boss counselor, is going to either get killed or be severely fucked up, and that's gonna
Nah,
again,
she's gonna get vaporized, and then he's gonna get with her mom.
but that's
there's gonna be
that's
another-
gonna make Jace really go into full on
Yes.
reactionary.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm not just making weapons anymore.
That he is
AKA
going
weapon.
he is going
His
to become
Oppenheimer moment.
he is going to become the actual in full name, the villain of the next season, not just the more subtle villain that takes a little bit of digging at. But like, yeah, oh man, I hate that. I
Like
the character is good. I think like it's a really
Yes.
the emotion he evokes in you is the disdain and the distaste that he evokes is
he plays the
is
character
well
well.
done. But
It's just like I struggled with him for so long because he was so like spineless and slimy.
the arrogance as well, just like that,
Yeah.
that he knows best and that he's the true genius and can see the larger picture, whereas Victor, the unsung one, is like truly is like he's like calls us like, yeah, like you think you see it all, but like you can't, you don't see the undercity. He even forgets that
He's from the
that
Undercity.
Victor is funny. It's like, oh no, you're different, you're not like them.
Yeah.
You're the special, you're the model minority type of
That's the I'm not racist. I have a
yeah.
I'm not racist. I have a black friend.
But the political message of this show is encapsulated for me perfectly in a line that Vi gives is the cops, the enforcers, they're just criminals with fancy uniforms.
Yes.
Yeah.
This show is
Criminals
very
with a
based.
badge.
It was very based for Netflix content based on League of Legends. Like,
Yeah, completely
never would
surprised
have
me.
expected that.
Well, I mean,
Completely surprised me.
remember, they had to counterbalance a little bit, so they had to lean on the fact that Caitlyn was a hot girl boss lady cop.
Yeah. Well, no, then she gets kicked out of the force. She's no longer a cop. But Vi has another good one too. That again is about like how bad Jace is. Like Jace thinks that his hands are only dirty now that after he is physically killed a
Murdered.
child.
Yeah,
But she's like,
decisions
no,
have killed countless children.
and she basically says like, you're just as guilty. You're just as bad as Silco. It's like your actions, both of your actions have killed hundreds of kids. Just like this one, but you
again,
have had the luxury of not having
Silco
to
is
see them.
portrayed more directly as the villain of the show. You know,
You have to
his
have
slimy
that.
portrayal.
No, you have to have
And
that.
other than the fact that he's flooded the streets with a drug that destroys lives and ruins people, he doesn't do too much else in the way of terrible stuff.
Besides kill Vander, and make drug addicts out of everybody. That's
And and try to poison his other crime
Sackler
lords.
family.
I mean, yeah, he keeps them in line, so that's not
Got to keep the underlings in line.
Yeah.
And child labor in his minds, but
but he is
but the
also
children
he
yearn.
is also a groomer. But let's also not
Mm.
forget that. I had that in my notes here. First, he grooms
he leaned all into the toxic grooming traits.
But first, he grooms the first kid to be like his first Shimmer test subject.
Yeah,
and then
be stronger.
Yeah, and then the actual like
faster,
there is a
stronger.
really weird dynamic between him and Jinx where it's like father daughter, but there's also like a weird pseudo sexual element to it as well. That's really creepy.
Yeah,
There's
it's this whole weird
in
the way
those power
I chalked it
dynamics.
up was like Vander was his brother, and this is Vander's like thrown away child, more or less. And like Vander betrayed him, Vander has now betrayed her, so it's like a kinship through betrayal through the same group.
There was they gave me pretty good vibe, like Harley Quinn Joker vibes. Felt very similar.
Mr. J.
All right. Well, I think that probably does it for us today, unless anybody has
I have final thoughts.
You do? Go
we have
for
to
it.
do our adaptation rating.
Oh, that's right.
And our TV show rating.
Well,
we might just have to
NA
NA the adaptation.
Yeah,
rating
that's a full NA. We not applicable for us.
NA or zero. I'm fully fine with either.
Yeah. But before we get to the ratings, I would just like to say that we're a pro Haley Steinfeld podcast here, the voice actor of V. And if you want to go on a date, DM me.
Man, too thirsty.
As my girlfriend rolls over and glares at me.
You heard it here, folks. After today, Mike will never be on this episode, this podcast ever again. He will cease existing.
Hey, we're open.
He's about to get smacked by a flip flop.
Tonkla.
I will give the first because we're just going NA across the board for adaptation.
Yeah.
Sorry, can't do it. Don't have the frame of reference, but
again, I'm cool giving it a 0 too.
I am going to give this show a solid 9 for my TV show thing. It's got great politics, but it's not like preachy in that way, which is good. Again, it shows not necessarily like that it's humanizing these evils. It's just it shows how basically right, left, not really left, but right and center left are all basically the same and all evil. It's a radically centrist show. No, it's not. It's explicitly its politics are quite explicit, but like in a really well handled manner. I found the story engaging. It's a story about family and legacy and all this, which is, a classic tale. But the characters were well realized and well performed, visually stunning, good music. Yeah, very, very good. I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, I'm not far off of you, Ben. I did enjoy this substantially more than I ever expected to going into it, but it is a truly enjoyable show. I think it's probably some of the best Netflix content they've made, and the characters are well written. They just have very few stumbles and a lot of strengths. And I think for me, I come out slightly below, but close at like an 8.5.
So for me, I personally can't wait to be absolutely disappointed by whatever slot becomes season 2, because Netflix has
Sure.
a wonderful track
Sure.
record of season 2 success, right, guys? I was originally going to go higher than Ben. I was going to go 9.2. However, he said it's a French studio, and I have to tax that.
You have to dig it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair.
So 8.8.
I'm gonna go a little bit lower than Matt. I'm at an 8.7. I think, Ben, you bring up a good point, and I wish more shows would do this, where you could get these leftist, quote unquote leftist ideas, not in a ham-fisted way, fed to people, in an endearing and well thought out story. I think that, from
In
a
a not
entertainment
ham-fisted way. Let's show these 2 horrible cities run by like fascists and a crime boss, and then let's show this utopia in a tree.
No, but like, not in the ham-fisted way of like,
I know. I was just more making a joke on like they didn't make it.
They don't
subtle.
do like eat. They don't say like, oh yeah. They don't have a character look at the camera, wink, and say, "Eat the rich."
exactly. They're not doing the cringe woke scold type
Yeah.
politics. So
I
think
I
that
didn't tax the blue hair tax either.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah. Fuck. You're right. We could just take an all around deduction off the average.
No, it's
for
fine.
the French.
I'm
and
okay.
and
I'm
the blue
okay
hair.
leaving the blue hair tax off for now.
Yeah.
Caitlin can arrest me whenever.
All right, so that brings us to an average of 8.75. I think that's
reasonable.
Math,
I think
you had
that's
that
fair.
ready.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no,
I think that's a good number.
I input it into my calculator as
No,
we go.
I know that.
It's
but-
almost like me and
Well, as
Ben
we
had
go,
the
that
same
makes sense.
distance as you and Andrew, and then it's just a halfway point between an 8.8 and an
Mhm.
8.7.
Yeah, that's sure. Math.
All right,
Feels
folks.
perfect.
Thank you for joining us for this discussion. It was enjoyable watching this one. I think those are going to be rare for us to find the ones that like we truly unironically enjoy.
Yeah, I was gonna say the
engaging
unironic
with.
is the
Oh,
important
it's
part
God.
there.
Have you
it's the
seen
other
what
side
June
of it.
is?
I'm looking at it right now.
The
It
Assassin's
is-
Creed movie.
Oh no! Oh no!
Yeah.
Oh man, I like mentally
Buckle up,
blocked.
folks. It's going
I've
to be a
mentally
good
blocked
one.
that one out. Like
I almost asked what's May, but today's May.
I've completely memory hold that movie. God,
Michael
I have seen it.
Fassbender. No,
I have seen it.
Oof.
But oh man, that shit was bad. All right, that's exciting. But I think what are we off next week?
Yes, and then
And
Hades.
and then Hades, folks.
Excited for that one.
That's gonna be good. That's gonna be
Lots
good.
of horny Greek gods, which is
Oh yeah,
ironically enough an accurate depiction.
yeah, canonically accurate. All right, but till then, you can catch us live on Twitch at twitch.tv/campaign comrades, as well as sometimes on streaming live on the YouTube channel, just Campaign Comrades on YouTube. Be on the lookout for more content coming your way. I have a lighter work schedule coming up, so I might actually be able to go back and finish another video that I was working on, but maybe it's been too long and I can't actually write a script for that one, so I may move on to something else. We'll see. But be on the lookout, folks. We will see you in the future. Until then, good night, good gaming. Bye bye.
Peace.